What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Roots. So I'm going to review a 2003 mixtape by Project Pat. Basically this project is called the Appeal Mixtape and it came out in the fall of 2003. So the thing about this particular project here is just the fact that after or approximately around the time when Project Pat dropped his 2002 album Laying the Smackdown, as far as this pitch going to happen, he went to prison for like 3.5-4 years as far as this first kind of went. It was just kind of the concept. He did get out in like mid-late 2005 and he quickly dropped the mixtape with DJ Drama, which I reviewed back in the summer 2024. Gangsta Girls 15, The Welcome Home Party, some pretty good fare on there. And the unfortunate thing about that project, it did have a lot of good songs. I definitely gave that like a pretty rave overall score about it, but this was kind of the concept that there weren't a ton of original Project Pat songs amongst that. He more hosted that mixtape more so than anything else. It's kind of the same thing with this one here. There are a couple new songs, at least for the time. Two songs that are the Project Pat solo songs on here that are new stuff would be Don't Turn Around and then Don't Bite the D with Bosa. Would be Don't Turn Around and then Don't Bite the D, which both of which kind of showed up on the Welcome Home Party just in a format. So it's just kind of the concept that these songs were held over to that, but it's just kind of the concept as far as saying that Project Pat seemingly didn't have the chance to record some new stuff. Project Pat seemingly didn't have the chance to record some new stuff after Laying the Smackdown. It was within the pitch behind it. Obviously 4-year prison sentences were, obviously it was a large shame the 4-year prison sentence that Project Pat had within those pitches. He definitely could have had some Geraldo type stuff that probably could have happened around that time. But he did drop a hit album in 2006, which was basically Crook by the Book, which is basic classic. I reviewed that back in 2023. I reviewed Crook by the Book back in 2023, so some good type fare. But this is something that's supposed to be like an interim until Project Pat eventually got out years later. So it's within some good type appeal. And the thing about this project here is just the fact that these are mostly remixes to songs that he's already done. So basically it's just a lyrics off a particular song and then swapping it for a differential beat, which actually works pretty well. Within the pitch behind it as far as those first can happen. Most of these productions on here are hit pretty heavily. Really out of the 16 or 15 songs, there's 16 songs on this mixtape, and this is a retail mixtape to say that. This is one. Originally I was thinking that you could download this on some of the free mixtape websites, but it actually is one that's available for purchase, kind of similar like Bun B's Gangsta Girls mixtape. I forget what that one's called, but the one he did with the middle fingers as far as those picks can happen. Some of the certain mixtapes from around the 2000s do occasionally have retail type fare, and Project Pat sold this one, so within the pitch, but it is worth the purchase as far as those fares can happen, because out of the 15 songs in this particular mixtape that are songs, there's only really one that I don't recommend. That's just Ass Clap, which is a redux to the Hypnotized Cash Money beat on there. So it's just within the pitch. This mixtape seemingly doesn't have any singles off it, but some good type fare, just getting some amalgamating type sounds and just having like some new fresh kind of aspects as far as getting like a good bolster of something to have within a new interesting sense of just being able to do it. So there's some ones, the You Scared beat by 3 6 Mafia shows up on here. There's some other ones like Shake That Ass, which is Ass Clap. Some of these type ones, Chicken Head, or some of these type ones like Ass Clap, which is the new variation of Shake That Ass. Some of these type of ones. There's just some good pitches on here that kind of have the variations. Now, I haven't listened to like some early 2000s Project Pat, where my normal starting point with one of my original starting points with Project Pat was more Crook by the Book from 2006 and a little bit of like, Walk and Bankroll from 2007, some of those type ones. But I did occasionally listen to like possibly like Getty Green, some of those type ones, but I kind of felt like he definitely fleshed out his sound a lot more within the mid-late 2000s and further as far as those pitches can happen. But this is some good type appeal. It's kind of a conduit type project. Definitely going to get to Laying the Smackdown from 2002 and some of his other type projects. There was one on there that particularly had like the song Chicken Head, which I think was either on, like, there's an album that came out in 2001 which had some charting hits before he went to prison as well. So he dropped 2 albums in the early 2000s, maybe even 3, but I think there was at least one in 2001, 2002. Look After This being, I'll say, so the concept about it, like I was saying, the only song I don't recommend on here is just Ass Clap / Hypnotized Cash Money. So basically the thing about that song, I don't know, it just felt like it was basically trying to be like a retread of like Back That Ass Up by Juvenile, some of those type pitches, but I just feel like Project Pat trying to pull off that particular vibe of Juvenile and BG and Lil Wayne, some of those type folks just didn't nail within the appeal. It kind of feels like vintage 90s Cash Money that just didn't have the same stickler as far as that particular atmosphere kind of went along with it. It's just kind of the concept. Project Pat just feels a lot more at home. It's more just the production type fare about that one. It's just trying to be like 3-6 kind of with a blend of like Cash Money just in the aspect, but it just didn't pull out the vibe within the aspect. I mean, there's probably better ones that have done it. Probably need a beat more like You Scared, something like that. And I probably would have said just in the tone something like trying to think of like some ones that came out like, I don't know, it would have been probably, can't really think of like a Cash Money hit that was large in 2002, 2003 as far as those fairs can have, but probably some, can't really think of like a booming Cash Money hit from like 2002, 2003, but there probably were some as far as those pitch can have, but we're just going to get to some of these. So basically this mixtape, The thing about it is, like I was saying, it's just the fact that Don't Turn Around and Don't Bite the D are both ones that are also on Welcome Home Party, and I think that project would just be easier to get because that particular mixtape is free from 2006, so you could get those basic songs for free as far as those fairs going to happen. It's too bad that there aren't really any full bound kind of exclusive songs on this particular project that were stuff that Project Pat kind of kept on to as far as, I mean, originally around the time they were, but just within the pitch, it probably having something that could have been a little bit more anchored as far as those fairs kind of went. So I look after it. I'm still going to give this mixtape like a 9.75 out of 10 because the quality is pretty vicious on here, and it's a clever concept to put some new spins. Like 36 Mafia did this. There's a project I reviewed back in 2024 called The Last to Walk mixtape where they put some new spins on like some beats that they did, along with a couple extra new songs on there. Songs like the song that they did with Chameleonaire, which I forget what that one's called, but it's like Doughboy Fresh, one of those type ones, just within the particulars kind of about it. But I look within the appeal, had some new stuff and like some remix type songs. That's the same thing that this particular product does, which has some excellent appeal on here. So we'll just get to these. So Still Riding Clean's a nice one. It's like a sleek kind of typical 3.6 crunk noise or crunk cruise around, kind of get within those pitches. Just some Night Commerce definitely, and 2000s basic stunt tune kind of get within those pitches. It's basically like a more ground level and vanilla type version of like the song Chicken Heads, which is to the You Scared type beat. And I would say the song Give Me Head's a pretty nice one just within the pitch. It's vintage kind of 3.6 Mafia within that standard type fare. Just a typical type one. It's basically if you need like a vanilla, this is probably one of the more vanilla type of 3.6 Mafia type beats that just feels like a typical kind of one that you would play around 8 o'clock p.m. Just car cruise around Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's a good type pitch for that. Fits the song pretty well. I'd say that Chicken Heads is probably one of the more immediate ones to go for, but this kind of has a classic and just recognizable 3.6 piece. It's like a classic spin on like 3.6 You Scared. I had to say, good concept for that. Turns like a strip club fuck junt into like a dance club hitter as far as those pitches can happen. So it's just a good type song. You know, Juicy J is good at some of these type ones, like Slob on My Knob, some of these type pitches. Just Chicken Head type women, Skeezers, some of those type pitches just within the tone. It's basically we put like a more dance type spin within those aspects about it. So it's good type one, just classic type two, and just Project Pack does well in these type 36 Mafia type songs. Shake That Ass is a nice one as well. It's like a hookah bar and kind of Middle Eastern twang about this particular song. Just a real good highlight for that. Just reminds me of definitely of like 36 Mafia Put Your D in Her Mouth from their 2003 album The Unbreakables. I'd have to say there, and it's just a good song for some tokage as far as those aspects can happen. So there are some good smoke type songs going to get on here. But there is just a hookah or something like that, or a couple bleezies, some of those type fares just in the pitch behind it. It really has the aspects, some of those particular good type tones. Obviously, a whole lot of weed would be another nice smokage type one to kind of get. Now, the thing about this particular song is just the fact that on Spotify there are actually 2 songs on this particular product that you can't listen to on Spotify, which is kind of strange. And on some playlists on YouTube, these songs are kind of hidden, so I kind of question the concept as to why the particular 2 songs, Choose You and Whole Lot of Weed, are kind of tougher to find in terms of their availability. But it is, both these songs are worth it, so it is the concept of just saying if you do have more difficulty finding these songs, just understand that there are some good ones. But Whole Lot of Weed is like a slow moving, kind of sluggish, smokage, fun to kind of get in the highlight. Definitely some red eyes, kind of zone out, and just a basic kind of hangout type hit, kind of get within that tone. So it's just one of those type ones. The initial moments of just smoking a bit and just kind of feeling it in your system as far as those fares going to happen. Just having some snack cakes, just checking yourself on some of those type pitches, just the initial kind of zone out type fare, just initial kind of combo, some of those type pitches, hanging out on couches, some of that type fare, basic kind of hangout dredge. It has to say a good nice one for some of those type ones. Choose You is a nice one as well, just within the conduct of more within like the album title format. It's a little bit more kind of amidst like papers and pitches like that. It seems like a little bit more of like city traffic. It's like a dredgy kind of day traffic and bustled and typical kind of work a day. Choose You is like some dredgy kind of day traffic and bustled and typical kind of work a day crunk music to kind of get in like a makeshift motion. It has say just an overall slick type one. So this works within the fare as far as saying if you do have some errands to kind of do within the commotion, not so much as if it has to be full bound on papers, but just with an aspect as far as saying just the commotion, like standard product to this day activity, just within concept, just kind of one of those ones. Not every song on this project is more just full blown get fucked up or just within the, there are some other moments apart from just getting tore up and just like the more kind of standard 3.6 Mafia crunk. So it's just some good type fare to kind of have crunk music in like a makeshift type sense, a good type concept, have Project Pat have some of this type fare, so it works for that. There's some vintage kind of snack run music on here, like typical 3.6 Mafia type fare. Some songs like Show Your Golds, Don't Save Her, and there's at least one more that's like that on here. I can't remember. It's probably like I'd say maybe, oh yeah, I think it's Gel and Weave, some of those type ones. But Don't Save Her is basically like a typical kind of floaty night commerce kind of get, and like a grand and haunting kind of snack run music, I'd have to say here. High as hell fun to kind of get within those aspects. So it's a great one to have some smoke within your system, some of those type fares, I'd have to say. Definitely with songs like Ass Clap, or definitely goes with some smokish type tunes on here like Shake That Ass and Whole Lot of Weed, some of those type fares. But this is just the typical type fare, just Taco Bell run and gas station run type music. Don't Save Her definitely has that appeal. Just with ladies in mind. I mean, the production fare, because these are beat switch ups, the original lyrics that were to these songs are not the same ones that are on these particular songs. There's kind of an aspect that some of these are more ladies type songs, are just different aspects in mind compared to like the fittingness of like the productions. That's kind of the fair as far as saying that some of these type ones just have different things in motion. These are still some good concepts to kind of swap out and just kind of figure out some new vibes about them. So some good type perspectives. Show Your Golds is just like Don't Savor Those, like a twinkling kind of after hours ambience kind of get here. Just nice bass guitar on this particular song, just a buzzing kind of feel good smoke one and enjoys amongst those products for us those pitch can have. So just a little bit of night venue type energy, the type product for like the night commerce and just demon time type fun as far as those pitch can have, and just some good products of some of that type fare. Good nice aspects of just like typical night activity as far as those pitch kind of go. Ballers is a quality one just within those pitches, like a productive kind of after hours energy. I'd have to say get late errands done. I would definitely feel like here is some good commerce and initial kind of venue unwind and dap as far as those pitches will kind of have with it. So it's just kind of one. There's two songs that have some pretty similar type fare on here. I'd say both Ballers and Fighter like some ones for like some more day shift activity, but I would say Ballers is like a relative wrap up, just kind of amidst like the initial moments of getting to like a venue, something like that. It's probably 4:45, 5:45 pitches like that. Just the last moment commerce, and just the moments like when you think of a song like Fight that has a little bit more day fare about it. Songs like Choose You, some of those type pitches, just the commerce of like, all right, put the last bills in like the mailbox, some of that type fare, have finishing up the last bit of Burger King in the car, and then this heading, finishing up the last bit of Burger King in the car, and then heading to like a venue in the initial kind of dap, and just like some product, just what kind of goes along with like the conduct behind it. So it's a good type fare with that. There's good aspects there. Fight is definitely a nice one for some of that type fare. This is like for day type shift. I'd have to say it's like a glazed and kind of dark summer afternoon activity, kind of get within those pitches. Just a crunk but vanilla kind of commute to kind of have within some of those tones. Basic errands and out as far as those pitches kind of go along with it. So this feels like a kind of day shift type song within a relative kind of dredgy makeshift type sense, just in a darker type tone, just in the pitch behind this typical 3/6 type fare, just like the aspect of something like normal when you get those snack run type music type tunes, just a little bit something for more just day errands. I'd have to say just more kind of vanilla within a sense, but it just does in like a dredging kind of just more morose and darker type tone. So it's a good type pitch for that, good type concepts, good nice appeals. I'd say I'm trying to think of some other ones like This Bitch That Hoe is a nice one, as well as like a buzzing kind of venue energy and a great 1-2 punch with Chicken Heads. I'd say pretty similar fashion to like the Chicken Heads You Scared type beat, and it's like a good head to dance floor type pitch kind of get here. So just a nice one to show off some moves, bust a move, some of those type fares, get some bells popping as far as those pitch can have, and just good type product to just be spicy and have some of that type fun with it. Good type product. So the original beat, just to talk about that one with This Bitch That Hoe, would be See Your Ass in the Lot. So it's a good type pitch for some of this relative type appeal. I'm gonna have to get to some of these. Makes me excited to see some of the 3/6 or see some of the Project Pat earlier albums from like probably 2001 and 2002. It's just some good type moments. Seems like classic type music as far as those pairs can have, because these are definitely classic on here. Basically just on the verge of it in terms of like getting a classic score, but it's just within the pitch. But Gel and Weave is a nice one as well. It's another snack run type song within the pitch. It's like a glistening. Gel and Weave is like a glistening kind of night product. Kind of get within that. This reminds me of 3/6 Mafia, the Unbreakable, Smog as far as those pitch can have, and just some glaring kind of venue heat to kind of have. So it's just the product of it. It's kind of aspects of this having a swisher near some of those type fares, of just the aspect of this night weaving just in the pitch behind it, you and some homies, some of those type fares just within it, just kind of the concept of just like a glaring type one. Just the basic vanilla kind of night commerce 3/6 Mafia song kind of have within those aspects. Project Pat handles these songs pretty well. Same sort of tone within that. And then Oh Nothing is a nice one just within these pitches. This is probably another one for day fare. It's like some grand kind of day antics and typical afternoon dredge kind of get within those conducts. It's kind of a scuzzy type day. Not necessarily scuzzy, but just kind of the dredge of just frustrating type day, just an aspect of just kind of more extra time within the pitch behind it. Just some good hollow type moments for like some bells just in the pitch behind it. Cool off type music, definitely, and a good hangout type song kind of have within that particular fair. So just one of those ones where maybe it's kind of a plain day for like television, some of those type fairs just within the pitch behind it. Just basic food and snackish type tones, just bells around, just pitches like that, just within the standard kind of day commerce of it. This really feels kind of like, to say frustrating within the pitch, just kind of concept of just like some spill over as far as those pitches kind of have within the concept of just having like those extra kind of moments, but then just not necessarily being ferocious, kind of Friday type turn up, but this within the pitch, and maybe not necessarily full bound smoking either, but just kind of like some lays around and just kind of like this extra kind of chit chat, additional kind of chit chat as far as those tones can happen with it. Just some good extra fair, so it's good tone for that. Some of that just good concepts, but the concept within it is just a little bit more of like a fuck buddy type song, just within the pitch, just definite. I mean, Project Pat with the concept, he's seemingly more talking with chicken head type chicas, some of that type fair, just the concept of just basic hoochie around the neighborhoods as far as those pitch can happen with it. But it's just kind of concept just within the aspect of how that particular kind of goes. This hollow type music I had to say within the tones, so some good type fair, but a good dope aspect kind of gets for some of these, just some day antics just within the tone, so it's a good aspect for that. I think I talk about every song on here as far as that particular fair kind of happens, so just to say within the tone, like I was saying, this mixtape it's a 9.75 out of 10 just within the pitch behind it. Most of these songs is full bound, really the real concept of it is, the only reason why this project is not getting a 10 out of 10, normally 14 out of 15 would be a 10 out of 10, but just the fact that 2 of these songs are just not exclusive to this project is kind of the tone. It's dope that you can get these songs for free on the 2006 mixtape, but it takes away some of the bite of like the original material, because I think Project Pat probably needed, like, it would have been dope to have seen some of the stuff that he was working on 2002 or 2003, whether he made some music, in prison, or he just had some leftovers that could have been used. It's just kind of within the pitch behind it, but just within the tone, it's still, for the most part, this is pretty hitting, and the songs that are remixes do hit the nail pretty heavily, just in the aspect of putting some new spins on them. So it's 9.75. The social score, I would probably say the social score would probably get, that's a little bit trickier. I kind of would look after it maybe like a 9.75 also just for the pitch, because I feel like the quality is on here. These are pretty beaming and just overall glistening type productions on here. There's the aspect of like some good turn up, typical kind of 3-6 Mafia type fare, lots of night outings, pitches like that, snack run type music, some good makeshift within a relative sense, get some errands done, some bills paid, some of that type fare, just snackage, day hangout type dredge as far as those pitches can happen with it, some good type tones, some bella type music, some hood rat type music, some good overall hookah smokish type music. So it just has a lot of these on here, pretty varietized just within the aspect. It's probably just lacked, I'd say, probably apart from chicken heads and still riding clean, I'd say it probably doesn't have too many commercial like overall this like breaks ground type songs in terms like more like commercialness about it, but in terms of more above ground kind of commercialness about it. But that's kind of Project Pat. He doesn't typically break above ground too oftenly, but still within the pitch, I'd say most of the quality is kind of on here. So 9.75 social. In terms of the future, like Project Pat has put out plenty of mixtapes within those pitches. He has plenty of albums as well. I think he has albums at least to 2018 or something like that, or even 2020. Not really his full bound sure, but I think he has a number of these. Just some good type ones gonna get here. He has plenty of classics under his belt, like Crook by the Book, Walk and Bankroll, pretty close, like Welcome Home Party from 2006. The mixtape's pretty damn well classic, despite the fact it doesn't have a bunch of exclusives on there. So there's plenty of good type ones kind of get within those tones. He does have plenty more of these. I do want to get to some albums like Laying the Smackdown and Getty Green, some of those type ones, and his 2001 album, some of those type pitches. But it's definitely like a virtual classic here. Maybe doesn't have like the exclusives that it needs full bound, but it is basically the originality factor and the cleverness that had is pretty supreme.